Yo, what is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to the first episode of the Return to Glory here with Kashima Antlers in the J-League. So first things first, guys, this is my return to Football Manager on YouTube. If you haven't been following, I have been streaming on Twitch a fair bit, but with my university studies finally being over, I can finally commit a lot more time to doing videos for you guys for at least the next few months. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this. And as I mentioned, today's series that we're going to be kicking off is with Antlers in the Japanese top flight. So yeah, you're probably wondering, Jack, how are you playing in the J-League? So first things first, yes, I'm running a modified database that makes the J-League playable. Number two, I have got a real name and national teams patch installed, which basically means that all the teams in the J-League have the real names. Because SI don't have the licenses in Football Manager, so by default they don't have them. And thirdly, I'll have a link to everything, including the Japanese face pack, Japanese name fix, Japanese kits, everything that you could want to try this database out for yourself down below. So anyway, a little bit about Kashima Antlers and why this series is called The Return to Glory, I guess. Kashima Antlers are the most successful team in Japanese footballing history. They have won the J1 division, which is the top flight in Japan, 7 years out of the 21 years it's been in existence, and they're one of only a handful of teams to win it back-to-back years. And they're also the only team to win it 3 years in a row, which they did between 2007 and 2009. So since their win in 2009, they've not actually finished in the top three in the last 4 years, and in those last 4 years they've only qualified for the Asian Champions League once. So as a result, the club is kind of going through a dry spell. They have quite an ageing squad, and that's going to be something I have to rectify. So we're going to be trying to build them back up. They aren't predicted to finish 4th in the league, but given the age of my squad, if I want to have any kind of long-term success, I'm going to have to sell a few key players in the first few seasons and hopefully build up a younger core of the side to ensure kind of a long-term, more stable future. So anyway, a little bit more about the club. They are of continental reputation, I should say. They were founded in 1947, but not under the name Kashima Antlers. Can't actually remember what the name was now off the top of my head. And they also have a 40,000 seat stadium that was built during the 2002 World Cup, and they tend to average attendances in the region of 18,000 in real life. So anyway, that's a bit about the team. As you can see, £1.13 million is my transfer budget. Wage budget of 82,000 is great, but it's going to be kind of touch and go, and I'm probably going to have to get rid of some players in order to free up some funds elsewhere. So anyway, let's have a look at the squad. A few key players to identify. First one here, Luis Alberto, a really good player, 30 years old. A very, very decent player, just a really well-rounded off midfielder. Actually signed for Antlers, I believe, this year from Braga, whom he spent a little bit of time at, but was released at the start of this season. So he's come to us. And then in terms of other just key players, you've got here Gaku Shibasaki, who is a great defensive little kind of deep line playmaker, I guess. 21 years old, great mentals, good creative stats, that 20 determination as well is insane, and as you can see, a lot of potential to live up to this guy. Anyway, next player who we have is Ogasawara. He's a good player. However, he is 34. As you can see, he's played at Antlers for a number of years and been a core of their side. But age 34 and on almost £10,000 a week, taking up basically an eighth of our wage budget, he may be a player I look to offload in order to free up some money to greater manoeuvre in the transfer window. Anyway, a few other players that you can see here. Nozawara is a good player. He's actually the number 35 who, if you watched the intro to this video, which I'll assume you did, he scored some absolute screamers last season for Antlers in the J1 division, and he's been at the club for a pretty decent amount of time. Did spend one season at Vissel. They are a team who have been promoted to the J1 League, I believe, for this, the 2014 season. And he's an okay little player. We also have Motoyama, again, good player but old, and that is a common recurring theme. I did mention the age of our players. If we sort our players by ability, you can really see that of the kind of key, I guess, players within the side, there is a hefty chunk of them above the age of 30. And if you've ever watched me play FM, you will know that I'm not a fan of older players. So that is something we're going to be looking to rectify. The other thing worth noting is the club has a lot of Brazilian players. There is a limit on foreign players in the J1 division, but the club has a lot of links back to Brazil, and in fact the Brazilian legend Zico played for Kashima Antlers towards the end of his career and even had a period as interim manager, I believe, for them. So yeah, that's a bit about the team, I guess, and a bit about the situation. Just an explanation, I guess, of the Japanese Football League system, because I appreciate not everyone is 100% familiar with this kind of setup. So the Japanese Football League was founded in 1993. There are 4 professional divisions, those being J1, J2, J3 and the JFL. The J3 is a new addition for this year. It's pretty standard promotions between J1 and J2, but the J3 division, as I mentioned, is a newly founded division for this 2014 system, as kind of Japan looks to bolster and increase the amount of teams who play professionally in the nation. So that's that. And they also have the JFL, which was the 3rd tier last year, is now the 4th tier, and some teams got promoted to the 3rd tier based on a set of criteria and I believe a vote. Just one other thing I want to draw your attention to is the fact that Japan themselves have a team in the J3 division. A pretty cool idea this. Basically, any teams in the top 2 flights are able to send players under the age of 22 on loan to this club. And players will be loaned here, and it's all to aid their development in kind of preparation for the for the World Cups, I guess, but more specifically the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which Japan is obviously hoping to compete and do well in. So that's that. I've introduced the squad a little bit. You can see here, looking at the squad report, average age is 26. Worst attribute is work rate, best attribute is passing. One thing about this side is that we have a lot of good attacking kind of midfielders who have quite good ability. You can see there kind of a lot of creative players in our side. Unfortunately, because of their age, that could be problematic. I'm probably going to look to emphasise a system that revolves around a lot of attacking midfielders, just due to our lack of squad depth, particularly in the final third with strikers. And I want to really start off this kind of save by getting in a few good little young Japanese talents who will hopefully have a long-term impact in the first team, and I can bed into the team for the first few seasons. Anyway, just to look at our expectations, you can see here that we expected to achieve a respectable league position. Obviously, with our media prediction being 4th, the media think we can do better. Antlers in real life, they have not finished, I don't believe, in the top 4 in the last 4 years since they won the title. I think the best finish they had was 5th, and that was last year, and before that they actually finished 10th. So no, they've been going for a little bit of a barren spell. The ultimate aim of this save is going to be to kind of get the club into the Asian Champions League and have long-term success there, and obviously try and dominate Japanese football once again, if possible. The club has never really had that much success on a continental level, so that's what we're going to be kind of, I guess, striving towards in the future. So that's that. We're not in continental competition this year. We have 14,000 season ticket holders, £12.6 million value, and if I look at our bank balance, you can see we have £5 million in the bank. So anyway, that is an introduction to the side. Hopefully you guys feel well versed and kind of familiar with the situation I find myself in. I'm a little bit rusty on the video making. It's been a while. But anyway, I'm going to go forward to the end of pre-season, and I'll catch you guys then, where we're going to talk about all my transfer dealings, the system I'm going to be playing, and of course review and watch the first game of the season. So I'll talk to you guys in a second. Okay guys, we're back. March the 1st. It's been a little over a month since the start of the season where I gave you guys a rundown. I've had a pretty constructive pre-season, pretty happy with our squad all in all for the coming year, and the signings particularly have proven to be pretty successful, I think. So anyway, yeah, let's move on to the transfers. Let's start with the interesting stuff first. Here is our dealings for the summer window. Thus far, of course, it hasn't closed yet. I say the summer window, the pre-season window. It's actually technically in winter, I guess, or spring, because of course it's the different seasons. But anyway, let's get into this. So first player on the ends, we have Ishiki joining us, the 19-year-old creative force. Great little prospect, this guy, 19 years old, really good physicals. That 16 creativity at such a tender age is great, and he joined us for £2 million from S-Pulse, where he was a particularly kind of key element to their first team last year. Next player in, Maiachi joins us from Arsenal. He's actually on loan with us for 2 whole seasons. He has got a recall clause, so obviously he can be withdrawn and brought back by Arsenal at any time. Pretty unlikely to happen, I think, but this guy's going to offer us something very, I guess, special down the wings in terms of his pace, in terms of his ability to cut in on his right foot from the left-hand side. Obviously, he's made a few appearances for Japan as well already, and at 21, he's a pretty good young kind of loanee to get in on very low wages, and his contract to Arsenal expires in only a few years, so a player who I might be able to sign on a more long-term deal afterwards. Anyway, next player in is Yuki Otsu. This guy is a bargain. I actually got him for 145k, and the reason for that being is his contract actually expires in the summer of 2014, so I offered him a pre-contract, and then I managed to negotiate with his club VVV a £145,000 buy now clause to get him immediately, rather than having to wait until the kind of end of his contract in June, at the end of the Holland kind of football season. So anyway, he's a pretty good player, good bit of pace, similar to Maiachi in many ways, just a pacey player with some flair, good ability on the wings, can also play down the centre, which is very useful, and he's a very good player and a good little prospect at 23. He's still got time to develop. And the last signing we brought in was Junyan Tanaka. Good player, this guy, one appearance again for Japan. And he's just a really good advance forward. I lacked a Japanese kind of striker who would, I guess, strike fear into the hearts of my opposition. So I got this guy in. Look at his smile. He's loving it. That's a face that's going to send shivers down the opposition teams. But as you can see, he's played for Reysol for a number of years, and he's done a good job for them. He got 11 goals last season. He comes in for just under £1 million, which isn't exactly cheap, but he's a player with loads of ability, and he's a really well-rounded off striker. Perhaps his finishing and kind of his overall attacking attributes aren't quite as high as I'd like, but with the exception of that, I mean, you can see it from his attributes polygon. Like, his physicals are really well rounded off, his mentals again really well rounded off, and technically he's certainly not the worst player in the world, so I'm pretty happy to get him in at that price. So all those deals amounted to £3 million. On the outs, as you can see, we recouped more than that, making £3.5 million in sales. The first player out was Ogasawa Hawara, who is of course one of the most experienced players at our club, but aged 34. He was on £10,000 a week. Obviously that is, well, it was an eighth of our transfer budget for the season, an eighth of our wage budget for the season, so I decided to sell him. £250,000. So far he's not played too great for Nantes in France, and at 34 he's not getting any younger. Next player on the outs is Shoma Doi. This guy's going out on loan. Hopefully he can develop a little bit at Den Haag. He's a good player with some potential, but he's not going to be playing in our first team this year just because of the quality of midfielders that I've managed to bring in. So rather than seeing him not really get any football with us, loaning him out to Holland, he's going to be there to the end of the Dutch season, and overall I'm hoping he's going to get a good little bit of game time in the coming months that's going to help him and maybe bring him into my plans in the next few seasons. Next player on the outs was Aoki. Again, another good player, but another old player who was on pretty hefty wages with us. He's gone out for 235k. I've sold a lot of the kind of long-term servants of Antlers this window, which isn't going to go down particularly well with the fans, and as you can see here, there's a few who they weren't too happy about me selling. But ultimately, you know, I want to get this squad young. I want to get the young players playing as much first team football as possible. And so with that kind of in mind, a lot of the more experienced players who are getting paid more probably aren't going to play as much first team football. And so I'd rather free up the wages to offer, I guess, opportunities to other players to join the club. Anyway, the next player on the outs was Nakamura. He has gone to Espools, one of our divisional rivals, for 500k. It's a good little return on this guy. At 23 years old, he's certainly not the worst attacking midfielder in the world, but given the players I've brought in, he doesn't really offer us anything we don't already have. And so for that reason, to get 500k for him was a pretty good deal. Next player we have going out is Kawamata. This guy's just a terrible keeper. I'm not even going to cover him. I don't know why he's at the club, but our wages are being covered at least with his loan deal. One more player who we loaned out was Toyokawa. This guy's a player. Good player, 19 years old, some potential to fulfill, and he's going to be going to Zwengen in the J3 division, and who knows, maybe he'll develop a bit. He's still young, got some good physicals, maybe not the best mentals, determination is a tad on the low side, but first team football may well help him to at least get his value up. Anyway, last player on the outs was Yashu Shiendo, who is a great player. You can see he's made one appearance for Japan in his career so far. He's a good player, but 2.6 million was just too much to turn down. And given the players who I've brought in the attacking third, he probably wouldn't have been in my kind of starting lineup anyway. So to get 2.6 million for a fringe player and also get a little bit off the wages, I was pretty darn happy with that. So all in all, pretty much what I expected to do this window. Really just give us a little bit more attacking prowess and get a few younger players that I can now bed into the first team this season. So looking at the system, we are going to be playing systems as follows. We are going to be playing this, a 4-2-3-1. It's actually a similar, or variation I should say, of the tactic I played with on the Wolves save, if you ever watched the stream. It's just a formation that really suited the players I have at my disposal. So anyway, this is the team that we're going to be running with for the first game of the season. We have got a few injuries to contend with, but besides that, it's pretty much full strength. So a little squad rundown. In goal, we have Sugahata, good player, experienced. Contracts a little bit on the long side and a little bit on the high side in terms of how much his wages. I did look to sell him, but I've not had any success. Going to be a tricky one to shift if I did want to get rid of him, but he'd certainly be difficult to replace right now. Anyway, at left back we go with Nakata, 34 years old, wouldn't normally be starting with us in the starting 11 that I want to play, but given a few injuries, he's got a chance today. 34 years old, good well-rounded off centre-back when he naturally plays there. And in centre defensive mid, but we are going to be playing him at left back today. His natural fitness should help him, keep his legs throughout the long games despite his age. Centre back we go with Shoji. This guy, 21 years old, good player, loads of potential, lacks a little bit of pace but still has some potential. And alongside him we go with Yamamura, who is coming back from injury. Probably won't last the entire game, but I'm going to try and start him today. And he's just a really well-rounded off centre back in all departments. Perhaps his mentals could do with being a little bit better, and he's not the strongest player in the world, particularly in the defensive area, but he has really good aerial ability and pace, which is something that I haven't really got that much of in the defensive lineup of my team. Anyway, Nishi is the next player. Good right back, some potential. He's 26, not getting any younger, but a good little solid player. Obviously, defensively, I've kind of stuck with the players that I already had at my disposal. The centre-backs I was really happy with. Wing-backs are something maybe to build upon in the coming seasons. Anyway, moving on to the midfield, Luis Alberto, who's the best player in the club, is going to be playing the defensive midfielder role for us. Going to be looking for him to really intercept the play, dictate the play from deep when he does win the ball, and ultimately contribute occasionally in the attacking department. Alongside him in the central midfielder region, we go with Shibazaki, of course a 21-year-old, loads of potential. Had a few offers for him, but I've managed to fend off the interest that some teams had. He's 21, loads of appearances last year, going to be a key component of our team this year, playing the deep line playmaker role, and hopefully he's up to it. On the left wing, we're going to go with Mayachi, going to give him the freedom to cut in on his right foot. Of course, he's on loan from Arsenal, amazing pace, good determination. Not the strongest crosser of the ball, but his core kind of stats for an inside forward set to support are really there. And then, of course, on the other wing, we go with Otsu, who isn't a natural right-handed sided player in terms of playing right attacking mid, but that is going to be where I play him. He has currently been trained to play there, I do believe. Indeed he is. Just because I want Mayachi to have the ability to cut in on his stronger foot. But these two guys, Mayachi and Otsu, have got great pace, and they're going to really offer us something potent in the attacking department. In between them, we go with Ishigi, the 19-year-old playmaker. I want to give this guy as much first-team football as possible. He's got great creative stats. Given the movement and speed of the players around him, his kind of okay physicals shouldn't be the end of the world for him. And overall, his technicals are very good in the kind of key departments for a young playmaker. And of course, up top, we are going to go with Tanaka. At least initially, we have, of course, got Davey on the bench, who we can resort to. He's very similar to Tanaka, but I want to start with the Japanese guy here, just because I'd much rather have a Japanese core to the team where possible. Anyway, a quick look at our bench. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but the first player we have here is Kanazawa. You're probably wondering, Jack, why are there regions in this? Well, basically, this database is made for the 2014 season in Japan, which starts in March, as it is now, and ends in December. Unfortunately, the FM database for Japan gets updated when the game gets released in September. What this means is that any of the young academy players who have been promoted to the youth teams this season in Japan aren't in the database. So as a result, I've turned it on so that the under-18s teams for all the teams in Japan generate regions just to make sure that each team has a semi-competitive youth team. So this guy is one of our good little prospects who came in through that generation process. We have got really good youth recruitment and youth training facilities at Antlers, and I'm going to be looking to utilise that, really give an emphasis on youth. So this guy at 16 has loads of potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing him potentially play this season when the time comes. Anyway, next player we have is Naomichi Ueda. This guy's 19. He's a great little centre-back with a load of potential, but his lack of mentals and his lack of aerial ability is really concerning me. I'm actually contemplating training him as a defensive midfielder. Maybe let me know what you guys think of this guy in the comments about what I should do or what I could do about this guy, because realistically, I'm a little bit stumped. I'm a little bit flummoxed. He has really good speed, really good defensive and physical stats, and some good potential, but those lack of aerials and mentals are going to be tricky to train, and I just don't know if he's going to make it as a centre-back for us. But anyway, next player we have here is Takanori Mayeno. We'll go with it. He's a wing-back, just a little kind of player with not a lot of potential left to fulfil, but a good little rotation option who we can call upon when the time is right. We then have Umibashi, who's 21. Good little bit of potential, this guy as well. Defensive midfielder. Not the craziest player in the world. We do lack a little bit of squad depth, but as our younger players get more of a chance, hopefully that will just naturally feed, I guess, more strength into the first team. Anyway, ahead of him on the bench, we have two very experienced heads from our attacking midfield who were key players last year. With the arrival of players like Mayachi, they've been demoted to the bench. Nozawa is one great player, 34, just a really good flair player who's the kind of player who I can call upon, can play pretty much anywhere in the midfield and attacker region with some comfort, but particularly the attacking midfield region is going to mean that we have some options to bring on off the bench if we need some fresh legs in that area. And Motoyama offers very much the same thing, a very good creative player, perhaps not so diverse and well skilled in his abilities to play elsewhere in the midfield, but putting him at the spear point of any attacking midfield trio, and he's going to do a job for us. He's a good little creative player, good dribbling stats, good passing, a bit of a playmaker who knows, we might call upon down the line in the season. And then last but not least, Davey, Brazilian player as I mentioned, good player, good striker, second best at the club, and who knows, this guy will probably get a chance when the time comes. So anyway, that is our team for this game. Obviously, I'm pretty happy all in all with the squad that we've got. I've managed to kind of lower the average age by about 2 years, I believe, in the squad, as you can see there, which is good. And our passing is still some of the best in the league. And I'm going to be looking to utilise that with our tactic, which revolves around playing a controlling football, balanced fluidity, and then really looking to retain possession, exploit the flanks, look for the overlap, play wider and hassle opponents, really looking to use our wide players and the pace we possess out wide to terrorise teams in the midfield. I've just realised that Yamamuro is a little bit struggling on the conditioning front. Gonna swap him out just for safety, I think, more than anything. Although I am going to play Shiobasaki in the deep line playmaker role, as I really don't possess a strong enough alternative to even consider dropping him. So anyway, squad familiarity with the tactics is a little bit disappointing. I have been training just everything really. Arguably should be training tactics, but I really wanted to focus on just getting the team cohesion and a bit of everything there, I guess, in terms of for the pre-season, especially given the fact we haven't made too many signings. So I'm a little bit disappointed with how quickly we've picked up the tactic, but hopefully that's not going to hold us too much today, as we are going to be kicking off the season against Vent Foret away from home, and this could be a tricky one, but we'll see how we get on. I'm pretty happy with the squad we have, all in all. And it's going to be an interesting way to kick off the season, I guess you could say. So yeah, Antlers are going to be an interesting team to manage, I think, in terms of, I kind of feel like we have a team that can very much, in a few years, certainly compete for the title. Even this year, a top 4 finish is kind of on the cards, I think, realistically. I've added some really good quality into the team in terms of just a few players, especially in the attacking midfield region, who I think are certainly going to make a difference for us in terms of ensuring that we are able to get a lot of goals, and really our aim is just going to be to outscore the opposition team here. So I did have some issues with the database itself. Hopefully they're not going to spill over into the kind of save and the series itself. I was having some issues with crash dumps. I think I fixed them. Just be aware that if you do choose to try and set up this database, that it is tricky. as much as I'd love to help everyone who might need help installing it, it's just not possible. But anyway, let's see what we can do from the set piece. Ishigi whips in the ball. Luis Alberto nods it back across. Shoji gets the goal. Let's turn up the highlight speeds. But that's a great way to start this game. Makes us go 1-0 up. Ventforet could not hold us back. And with our first shot of the season, we've got a very good early goal. So yeah, I have had some issues with crash dumps, but I think I fixed them. But during the kind of troubleshooting process, I did have to delete my preferences folder in FM, and it clearly reset all my highlights. But anyway, let's see how we get on here. Ventforet currently 1-0 down against us, and we're looking good at the moment. We're looking really to assert our dominance with just the quality of passing we possess. I'd love to see Tanaka get a few chances and hopefully a few goals, really, just to get him off the kind of mark for the season up top. With us playing with one striker in our formation, it really relies on us to have a striker in form who's going to be bashing in the opportunities that the players behind him create. As I said that, Ishigi just missed a clear-cut chance whilst I was rambling. Now we need to defend, boys. Can we defend? We can't, but they've missed a sitter. It's a bit of a let-off there. Our high line was kind of punished somewhat. One of their strikers moves into the channels and no one has picked him up. But right now we're looking nice. We've got this like midfield trio. Nice bit of movement coming from our team, but we have got to be, all too aware that we have got to track back and defend. Playing with three attacking midfielders is always a risk in FM, and it's something which I often raise with caution, and that is one of the reasons why in creating this 4-2-3-1 I chose to do it off the Wolves tactic that I had already set up, as I knew it was a 4-2-3-1 that worked for me. I made a few little adjustments to help it kind of, I guess, work with our team a little bit better, but always defensively with a 4-2-3-1 I'm always a little bit kind of uneasy, and that is one of the reasons why we have Gustavo just playing in that deep lying kind of defensive midfielder role for us, but doesn't help us defend there as Ventforet do get a goal. Pretty poor defending there. They just found some room out wide. It looks like we tried to play the offside trap and Cristiano was just able to whip in the ball, and then Mizuno turns up at the back post for them and buries it. And you'd have to say that's been coming. They've had a few chances for us. I'm going to try turning off hassle opponents and push higher up. Try and play a slightly higher line. Hopefully reduce the gap that exists between our midfield and defence in terms of when we win the ball at the back, there's more options available. I've just fucked up the team talk whilst rambling. It's been a while since I've played FM whilst doing a YouTube commentary. Obviously, if you watch the streams, you'll know that during the streams, obviously, it's a little bit less formal than when I do videos, I guess. So I'm kind of concentrating hard right now, and as a result, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing on screen. But they're on the attack here. They're working the space nicely. Maiachi, you've got to chase back there, son. And again. And again. Maiachi, do your thing, please. Oh, excuse me. I really should remember to get a bottle of water for these videos, but I'm not that smart. Oh god. Sugimoto, what a save, Sogahata. What a save, son. Can we make the most of defending this second chance? Okay, it's not gone in. Well, that's a little bit lucky, isn't it? I'm going to turn off look for the overlap and retain possession, because right now we're not having any more of the ball than them, and our wingbacks really aren't having a big emphasis and impact on the game. So rather than kind of tell them to push higher up and potentially catch us out position defensively, just ask them to reposition themselves for us. Anyway, let's make some changes here. We've got a few injuries to contend with, so we'll make changes according to that. And hopefully we might be able to break the deadlock here, because right now it's been a pretty darn bland first game of this save. It can only get better from here. And unless, of course, we get a winner, in which case I'll take it all back and it'll be the greatest start to a series ever. But it's not looking like that's going to be the case. 40 seconds left on the clock. A draw away from home wouldn't necessarily be the worst way to start the season. Somewhat disappointing that our new signings haven't had a massive impact on the game, unless there is one last chance here. Tanaka! Oh, he just rolls too far for him, folks. And that is going to be all she wrote as the ball is booted away. And now I just have to look at the clock and watch it tick away. There it is. Full-time whistle goes. 1-1. Not the best result. It was pretty disappointing all in all. But hopefully we can turn things around. Where are Ventforet set to finish? They're predicted to finish 16th, so that is pretty disappointing all in all. But alas, it's only the first game of the season. Team cohesion, I think, is lacking, as is tactical familiarity, but that is something that we can overcome, hopefully in the first kind of month or so of the season, and start to see results going our way. So anyway, that's going to wrap things up for the first episode, guys. I think the next episode I'm going to do is going to be the game against Gambro Saka, which is on the 6th of April, so it's a little over a month away. Of course, if you've been around on my channel for a while, you know I did a Gambro Saka save, be it for a shortish period of time. So yeah, that's going to be what you guys have to look forward to. Just worth noting as well, there is a summer break in the Japanese season for the World Cup, so we have got that as well to contend for. But anyway, I will see you guys for that Gambro Saka game. Hopefully we can turn things around in these first kind of few games of the season and really kind of, by the Gambro Saka game, have some momentum going into it. But yeah, guys, let me know what you made of the signings that I made. Let me know what you make of my shape formation. In fact, let me know what you make of this save and anything that I've covered in today's video. If you've got any questions about stuff I've made, decisions I did, whatever, you know, leave them down below. I'll appreciate and answer them if you ask a decent question. If you ask me what skin I'm using, I'm not going to reply. But it's Bergkamp V4. Anyway, yeah, that is it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, first episode of a new series, smash the like button. And when we get this video to 250 likes, I'll have episode 2 up later that day. So other than that, guys, it is me, Jack. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit. I'm out.